You cried this week, maybe at a movie, maybe in your car, maybe at a text you didn't expect. And if you didn't, someone near you did, quietly, probably in a bathroom. Crying is so normal we forgot how completely insane it is. No animal on Earth leaks salt water from its face when it feels something. Just us. Just you. And nobody, not biologists, not psychologists, not 200 years of science, fully agrees on why. So let's actually look at it. First weird fact. You don't have one kind of tear. You have three. And they are chemically different fluids made for completely different reasons. Tear number one. Basal tears. The ones you're producing right now and don't even notice. Your eyes are basically two exposed organs sitting on the front of your face. They have to stay wet or they die. No animal on Earth leaks salt water from its face when it feels something. Just us. Just you. Tear number two. Reflex tears. The ones you get when you chop an onion or stand too close to someone's vape. This is pure plumbing. An irritant hits your eye, your brain says flush it, and your tear glands open the valve. No emotion required. Reflex tears are bigger, faster, more aggressive than basal tears. Your body is trying to physically wash a thread off your eyeball. And then there's the third kind, the weird one. The one we're actually here to talk about. Emotional tears. The kind that show up at funerals, at weddings, at the end of a Pixar movie about a robot. And here's the part that broke scientists' brains in the 1980s. When you actually collect those tears and run them through a lab, they are chemically different from the other two. In 1981, a biochemist named William Frey did exactly this. He had volunteers watch sad movies and chop onions, and he separated the tears. Emotional tears contained higher concentrations of three things: prolactin, adrenocorticotropic hormone, and leucine enkephalin, a natural painkiller. Translation: when you cry from feelings, you are literally leaking stress hormones out of your face, which led Frey to propose a wild idea. What if emotional crying isn't a side effect of feelings? What if it's a disposal system? A bathroom for the part of you that hormones can't reach with normal pee. It is, and I mean this affectionately, the dumbest sounding theory in modern biology. And it might be partially right. But it's not the only theory, not even close. Because the bigger mystery isn't what's in the tear. It's why we're the only ones making it. Every mammal has tear glands. Cats have them. Dogs have them. Elephants, mice, dolphins, gorillas, all of them. Every single one of them produces basal tears and reflex tears. The plumbing is universal. But none of them, and we mean none, cry from emotion. Your dog doesn't sob when you leave for work. Whatever you think you see, that's not it. There are a few contested cases. Some primatologists have reported elephants weeping at the death of a family member. Some claim chimps cry. The evidence is messy. But even at its most generous reading, emotional crying in animals is rare, unreliable, and nothing like the way humans do it. We do it on a Tuesday, for no apparent reason, about a song. This matters, because it means emotional tears aren't an evolutionary leftover. They're not a glitch. They are an adaptation, a specific feature. Something evolution actively built for the human face, and only the human face. Which means there's a reason, a function, a problem these tears solve that the rest of the animal kingdom apparently doesn't need to solve. Figure that out, and you figured out something kind of huge about what makes humans, humans. Evidence for it is suggestive but thin. Frey's original samples were small. Follow-up studies have been mixed. The hormones are there. Whether crying actually reduces stress because of that is genuinely unclear. Theory 1. We already covered. The hormone disposal idea, the notion that you literally leak chemical stress out through your eyeballs. Evidence for it is suggestive but thin. Frey's original samples were small. Follow-up studies have been mixed. The hormones are there. Whether crying actually reduces stress because of that is genuinely unclear. Most people feel better after a good cry. But also, most people feel better after a nap. Correlation meet causation. They have never met before. So while theory 1 is real, most researchers today think it's a piece of the picture, not the whole picture. Which brings us to theory 2, and this one is much weirder. In 2009, a neuroscientist named Orrin Hassan published a paper arguing that crying is, fundamentally, a visual handicap. And that's the whole point. Watch your own eyes the next time you cry. The world goes blurry, you can't see threats, you can't aim a weapon, you can't run away effectively. Crying physically lowers your ability to defend yourself. Evolutionarily speaking, this should be a terrible idea, unless it's the point. Hassan's idea is that emotional tears evolve precisely because they make you vulnerable. They are a costly, unfakeable signal that says, I am not a threat. I need help. Come closer. This is what biologists call a costly signal. The cost is the whole proof. A peacock's giant tail is costly because predators can see it. A tear is costly because, for a few seconds, you can't see them. And there's something else. Tears blur your vision, but they also dramatically change how others see your face. They catch light. They reflect. They literally illuminate distress. Studies have shown that when people see a face with tears, they identify the emotion correctly far faster than the same face without them. Tears are a wayfinding system for human feelings. This is why fake crying is so unsettling. The brain has a tear detector. And when the signal shows up without the underlying state, something feels off. Uncanny. Which leads to theory 3, the honesty theory. And it's basically a more cynical version of theory 2. So in a species where everyone is constantly trying to read everyone else, an unfakeable signal becomes incredibly valuable. Tears are biological proof of work. So in a species where everyone is constantly trying to read everyone else, an unfakeable signal becomes incredibly valuable. Tears are biological proof of work. This is why we instinctively trust someone who cries, even when we shouldn't, even when we suspect it's manipulation. Because for hundreds of thousands of years before televisions and movies and stage acting, a tear meant one thing: real pain right in front of you. Your nervous system never updated. Which brings us to theory 4, the most romantic one and maybe the most important. Ad Vingerhoots is a Dutch psychologist who has spent his entire career studying one thing: crying. Hundreds of papers, decades of work. The man is the world's leading expert in human tears. His conclusion, after all of it, is something close to this. Crying exists because humans are the most socially dependent mammal alive, and tears are the most efficient bonding tool evolution ever built. Here's why this matters. Human infants are born helpless, catastrophically helpless. A newborn deer can run within hours. A human newborn can't lift its head. And the baby's first survival tool, before words, before pointing, before walking, is crying. Not just sound. Real tears develop in the first weeks of life. Why? Because evolution had to solve a problem. How do you get a sleep-deprived adult to wake up, walk across a cold floor, and care about something that can't even thank them? Answer: build a signal so emotionally devastating that ignoring it is almost impossible. Brain scans show that watching another person cry triggers the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same chemical that fires when you hug someone or hold a baby. So tears don't just signal pain. They literally chemically pull the people around you closer. They reroute another human's brain in real time. This is also why crying in public feels so naked. You're not just expressing something. You're activating an ancient social emergency broadcast that everyone within visual range can receive. And here's the part that ties all 4 theories together. They're not really competing. They're stacked. A tear flushes a tiny bit of stress chemistry. It also signals harmlessness. It also proves the emotion is real. It also forces a chemical bonding response in everyone watching. 1 drop of salt water doing 4 jobs at once. That is, biologically speaking, an absolutely insane piece of engineering. And we evolved it for free. But there's still one piece missing. Because so far we've only talked about crying from pain. And that's not the only time we do it. But there's still one piece missing. Because so far we've only talked about crying from pain. And that's not the only time we do it. A bride walks down the aisle. Her father cries. He is not in pain. He is not signaling danger. There are no stress hormones to flush. Why is his face leaking? You watch a sunset. A song hits a note. A stranger does something kind. Same face, same chemicals, different emotion entirely. A Yale psychologist named Oriana Aragon studied this. She calls it dimorphous expression. 2 different feelings producing the exact same physical response. Her theory is that the body, faced with overwhelming emotion of any kind, deploys the opposite physical response as a regulator, a pressure valve. It's the same reason people pinch chubby babies or say, "I could just eat you up." Overwhelming positive emotion triggers a kind of aggressive-looking output just to balance the chemistry. So when you cry at a wedding, your body is doing the same thing. It's not sad, it's overloaded. The tear is the break. Which means there's a unified answer underneath all of this. Tears, of every emotional kind, show up at one specific moment. The moment a feeling exceeds your capacity to contain it. Grief overflows, joy overflows, awe overflows. The body doesn't care which. It just opens the valve. Which raises a slightly uncomfortable question about the kind of life most of us are currently living. The modern adult, on average, cries less than at any other point in recorded human history. Surveys across multiple countries find men cry roughly 6 times a year. Women, around 30. Both numbers are dropping in younger generations. Not because we feel less. There's no evidence we feel less. We just contain more. We're trained to. The workplace doesn't tolerate it. Public spaces don't tolerate it. Even funerals are getting quieter. Which raises Vingerhout's final question, the one he keeps circling back to in his papers. If a tear is a pressure valve, and you never open the valve, where does the pressure go? The research keeps pointing the same direction. Unexpressed grief shows up in the body, higher cortisol, worse sleep, inflammation, compromised immune response. The system was built to leak. When you don't let it, the leak finds another exit, usually one you didn't choose. Crying is not a weakness your culture forgot to remove. It's a maintenance protocol your body never stopped scheduling. Somewhere between 1 and 2 million years ago, a creature with our face stood up in Africa, looked at another member of its group, and leaked salt water from its eyes for the first time. We don't know why. We can't. But whatever happened in that moment worked well enough that every descendant of that creature, including the one reading this in a phone in 2026, still does it. Tears are older than language, older than agriculture, older than the wheel, and they still do their job.